Authentication looks extremely hard when you first get started with it. You just have no idea how to make things work, what are the best practices, and how to handle security. Well, in this video, I'll show you how easy it is to get started with it. We will not just learn how to sign up and log in, but we'll also implement things like email verification by sending a 6-digit code to the user. And once they verify their account, we will send a welcome email by introducing our platform. We are also going to learn how to build a reset password logic by sending an email. Once the user sets the new password, this time we will send a success email. And sending all these emails is free thanks to Mailtrap, which is sponsoring this video. I already fell in love with the Node.js SDK and we will learn how to use it later in the video. And there will be a link in the description where you can sign up to be able to follow along with the tutorial. When it comes to the tech stack, on the front end we'll be using React and Tailwind. For the database, we will use MongoDB, and on the server, we'll be using Node and Express. We will build this Auth system with JSON Web Tokens, and we will consider security risks as well. And at the end, we will deploy this application completely for free. And hopefully, after this tutorial, you will feel a lot more comfortable with the authentication concepts. So if you're ready, don't forget to subscribe, and let's get into it. Okay, so let's get started. I have just created an empty folder on my desktop. I call it as Auth tutorial and then I just open it up in VS Code. In the first section of this course, we will be focusing on the backend part. So let's create a folder for this. And later in the video, we're going to focus on the front end part. So let's create one more folder for this. And we'll be focusing on this one first. Now first, I just want to create a node module. Right, so let's initialize this. I will say npm init-y, and if you're wondering how did I open this with a shortcut, it is Ctrl-J. You can open it up and close that off, just toggle the state with it. Okay, let's say npm init-y, which is going to give us a package.json file in the root of our directory. And we'll be using this in the root is because this will be really easy to deploy this application in one place. So this would make a lot of sense once we get into the deployment. Let's clear up our console with CLS, and maybe I'll just shut this off so that we can see the entire line. And let's go ahead and install all the packages that we would need for the server part. So let's say npm install, we're gonna get Express, and let's just type all of them and then I'll explain one by one. Let's say Express cookie-parser, and let's say Mailtrap. Let's say bcrypt.js.env, and we'll be using JSON Web Token, let's say Mongoose, and finally crypto package. So we'll be using all of them, one by one, and I'll explain each of them in detail, but let's just quickly just see in short. So Express is going to be the web framework that we'll be using to be able to just have that setup, that server and routing in the first place. Then we'll be using cookie parser to be able to parse the cookie from the request, and we'll be using Mailtrap Node.js SDK to be able to send emails, which is going to be our email delivery platform. And we'll be using bcrypt.js, which is going to allow us to hash the passwords. And if you don't know what that means, once we use it, you'll see how that works and what that is. Then we'll be using .env to be able to read the data in a .env file, which is going to be our environment variables, right? Then we will have JSON Web Token package, where we can create the tokens and decode them and just have the authentication in the first place. And we'll have Mongoose to be able to interact with our database, which is going to be MongoDB. And this is going to make the process a lot easier and just have some kind of like, English kind of sentence feeling, but in code. Then we'll have the crypto package. This is going to give us some kind of auto-generated numbers, and once we use it, I think we'll just see this in action. So that would be my summary of these packages. Let's press enter. It's gonna install all of them, and it's gonna put them into the package.json file, as well as creating a node modules folder in the root. So let's wait for this to complete. hopefully we should be able to see them here, and here it says it has completed successfully. And I don't know why do I have this B in the terminal. Let's delete it. And I just want to install a dev dependency, which is going to be nodman. Let's say npm I or install, doesn't really matter. Let's say nodman and -d. This is going to make sure that this package will be a dev dependency. So let's wait for this. There we go. And we'll see what this package does if you haven't seen this before. So I'll go into the backend folder and just create a server.js file. You can't really call this anything. The convention might be like index.js, main.js, app.js. You know, this could be really anything. I think I'll just go with index.js. Why not, right? And now the general or the traditional way of importing something in Node would be this common JS, where we just say const express require express or whatever the package is. But instead I just want to use import syntax. So I would say something like import express from express. Okay, instead of this, I'd like to use this one. And to be able to make this work, we need to go into the package.json, and here we should create this field called type. And by default, it is common JS, which is this one, right? And I want to make this to be module. And with this, now we can use import export syntax. Okay, let's save this and let's create an app. I'll say const app. And if you are like complete beginner to Node.js or this kind of like MERN stack, I just have a complete tutorial on this where I just walk you through the entire process, and it's about 2 hours long. You can take a look at this, take a look at that video. And here I might be a little bit more focusing on the authentication instead of this kind of stack. But again, I'll just try to make everything, you know, be just beginner friendly. So just wanted to mention that out. So let's say app express, we can listen for a port. I'll just say app.listen. We can give any port. For now, let's just say 3000, and let's say server is running on port 3000, right? Okay, let's save this file, and now we'd like to run this file. We can open up our terminal and just say something like node, go under the backend and run this file, and we should be able to see this console. There we go. And let's send a response back. So let's say app.get. If we visit the homepage, we should be able to see something like hello world maybe. Okay, let's save and just visit localhost 3000. And we're gonna see nothing. It's because we added this part right after we started our server. We need to kill this and just run this again. And now if we refresh, we're gonna get this. Let's say I said hello world 123, I save, and if I refresh this, I cannot see the new result. That's why we installed the nodman package in the first place. So we'll just go ahead and create a script for this. Let's say development or dev. We'll say nodman and index.js file, but this is under the backend. So let's just prefix it with it. And let's say our main file is the backend. Oops, I just got, you know, some kind of warning because my laptop is charging. So let's say backend index.js. This is the main file that we just have. If we save, now we can kill our terminal and run this file with npm run dev, which is going to run it with nodman. And whenever you do some change, it is going to restart it. So let's see what I mean. If we refresh, we just got this value. And if I delete this and if I save, this is going to be updated as well. Okay, I hope this makes sense. That was the setup that we just have. Now let's try to maybe just create a database and connect to it, right? So I will go into the MongoDB, let's say mongodb.com. And if you don't have an account, go ahead and create one. It is completely free to get started with it. So let me just try to sign in with my Google account. So it already, I think, tries to sign me in, and we need to create a project. So let's click to this drop down and just say new project. Okay, so I'll just give it a name. Let's say Auth tutorial and just say next. Project owner is going to be me. Let's say create a project, and then it's going to take us to this page. Let's say create a cluster, And then we can select the free tier, which is really generous, that is completely enough for us, and we can just leave everything as it is. You can update the region, the one that is closest to you or your users. It is not really important. Let's just say create the deployment. And then it's gonna take us to this page. Let me just copy my password and just go here, put it for now as a comment, because we'll be cutting this from this file. Let's say create this user, and now we can really get the string to be able to connect to this database. So I'll just copy this. In your case, this might be off. In my case, it is already, turned on, and I can see the password. If you see something like this, then you would copy it and paste it, then change this password field, right? This complete placeholder with the password that you have. So you would delete this and get that and paste it. And instead of having this in the index.js file, we would like to cut it from here and just go and create a file called .env. And I will say mongo URI equal to this value. By using this string, we can really connect to the database that we just created. So let's say close. And just one more thing, in the development, your IP address might change, so you might have trouble to connect to this database. And to fix this, I think we should visit the network access. Okay, so from here, you're gonna see your IP address listed in the first, in the first listing, but you might want to just say add IP address and allow access from anywhere, so that you can really don't have any issues in the development. So this is gonna take a bit time, and once this is ready, we can move on with the video. Okay, so it just took about 20 seconds and now it is active. Let's go into the database. And if we take a look at it, we don't really have any collections, right? We just don't have anything. And the very first collection that we'll be creating is gonna be the users collection, right? So let's go ahead and maybe first create a function where we can connect to the database. Then we can really, we can create that user collection. Okay, sorry. Let's go ahead, create a folder called maybe database or db. Let's say connect db.js. And in this file, we would like to basically create a function that is going to allow us to connect to the database. So let's say export const, I'll just say connect db. This is going to be an async function, and let's import mongoose at the top. Okay, by using mongoose package, we can connect to our database. Let's have a try and catch, let's say, and we'd like to just say await mongoose.connect, and we would like to pass the mongo URI that we have as the connection string. And this is going to give us a connection. So let's just get that so that we can really see something in the terminal. So I'll just say console.log mongodb connected. And in the catch case, we could say console log error connecting to MongoDB, or connection to MongoDB, by showing the error message. And we can really just exit this process with the status code of 1, which means a failure, right? So if the code was 0, then that would mean it was success, right? Status code is success, but 1 is, let's say, failure. 1 is failure, right? I'll just leave this as a comment. Now let's go into the index.js. Once we start to listening this port or this app, we can really just say connect db and call this function. Now, since you're importing a local file, you need to make sure that you put the .js at the end, because we're using type of module, right? Okay, so this is something that you need to keep in mind whenever you import a local file in this backend folder. It should always be extension at the end, otherwise it's going to crash. Now, if we just try to see this, it is going to crash. Let's see why. It is because here it says the URI parameter is not actually provided. So you might be asking, hey man, I just provided this. Let's just see. I'll say console log let's say mongo URI, and just see this in the terminal. We're gonna get undefined. The reason is that by default you cannot access to this environment variables. That's why we imported this package .env in the first place. Let's say .env, and we need to call